Our first story this week asks, is it last call on traditional alcohol attitudes? So, new Gallup research has shown that belief in the negative impact of alcohol consumption is increasing, growing from 29% of US consumers stating moderate daily consumption was bad for your health in 2018 to 45% in 2024. The perceptions that reinforce daily consumption, things like a glass of wine a day is good for your heart, have been consistently eroded by new studies, growing non alcohol options, greater marijuana availability, and by wider shifts in alcohol consumption, especially amongst younger audiences. Gallup shows that 65% of those 18 to 34 believe 1 to 2 drinks a day is harmful versus 37% of 35 to 54s, and that 38% of 18 to 34s report having a drink in the last week, down from 49% in 2001. So, as daily marijuana usage tops daily alcohol consumption in the United States for the first time, shifting attitudes and consumption look to not only affect sales volume, but the ease that alcohol brands operate in culture with less of a free pass on being a daily presence in consumers' lives. What does the next chapter for alcohol look like? Next, we ask, should we name heat waves? Rising temperatures have meant heat waves are an increasing threat worldwide. But unlike hurricanes or other natural disasters, they aren't as defined in the cues to mark their severity. We can't see heat, and we think we know what it means to be hot. In response, countries have trialed making extreme heat more tangible through naming. Spain, which named a 6 day stretch of high temperatures in 2022 as Zoe, and Greece, Israel, and Cyprus, which jointly named a 2023 heat wave Cleon, or Cerberus, depending on who you ask, were some of the first. And while meteorologists worry about recall, issue fatigue, and differing standards on what constitutes a heat wave, naming is a potentially powerful tool to identify and aid discussion around heat in a warming world. Growing up in a hurricane prone area of the US, someone need to only mention Hugo to someone in South Carolina or Katrina to someone in Louisiana to evoke more than the overall concept of a storm. So, could naming give heat waves the public action and engagement they need to address them? Now, let's talk about authenticity in the modern world. Despite authentic being one of Merriam Webster's words of 2023, it appears that this year has been a search for what it really means. Authenticity has been discussed frequently within the context of modern celebrity, with celebrities such as Pamela Anderson going barefaced to be more authentic, and ascendant musicians such as Charlie XCX being described as breaking the mold in music to share her true self authentically. It has been discussed as a risk to influencers and a cause of influencer fatigue for marketers. Now, this is despite recent research from Sprout Social showing that only 35% of Gen Z consumers care about authenticity from influencers, instead, prioritizing value alignment or follower count. Authenticity becomes a consideration for each of us when we think about our personal brand and what we share. In fact, personal brands often struggle with performative authenticity where we highlight an exaggerated version of our flawed selves to drive greater relatability amongst others. A pratfall effect baked into more and more of our content, if you will. So, what does modern authenticity look like? Is it being true to ourselves? Or is it painting a compelling but less authentic story about challenging the norms around us? Vox looks at how to be authentic in one's own content in a link in the show notes. Next, let's talk about dopamine public art installations. So, as British artist Banksy's 9 day spree of animal themed public art comes to an end in London, with a gorilla painted on the shutters of the entrance of the London Zoo, wider discussion about their meaning and the impact of public art overall remains. Against the backdrop of riots across the UK from the far right and subsequent counter protest, Banksy created daily graffiti works of animals around the capital, including a goat, elephants, monkeys, a wolf that was on a satellite dish that was swiftly stolen, pelicans on a chip shop, a cat, piranhas, and a rhinoceros mounting a car. While the meaning of them is unclear and no link to rioting was stated, their timing highlights the ability of public art to increase mood and reduce anxiety for the residents who experience them. with additional unrelated works from Kusama and a Little Cloud World coming to Covent Garden Market in partnership with UK charity Calm. There seems to be a coincidental wave of dopamine boosting installations popping up around the city. Now, for advertisers, it asks the question, could our ads do that? Does our out of home make someone happy? But overall, even if the moods don't change, British reactions to public art will at least stoke interesting conversations. A statue of the late Prince Philip was once described as eye wounding. Additionally, whether other places will follow suit is still an open question. But this week's pop up aquarium in Brooklyn, built around a leaking fire hydrant and complete with goldfish, could always be the start of something bigger here in New York City. Finally, this week, we talk about the double jeopardy facing gyms. As US gym chain Blink goes into bankruptcy, it would be easy to point to a demand issue. However, other chains, like Planet Fitness, have gained members. Planet Fitness gained over 4 million new members from 2019 to 2023. Additionally, 73% of US Gen Z say they like to go to the gym, so there are sources of growth. So, is starvation a gym's biggest issue, or is it something else? Well, new research shows younger consumers seeing the gym as a third space, and therefore gyms which relied on infrequent visitation run a risk of actually having too many customers. As an article by Business Insider raises, Planet Fitness has on average 6,500 members per gym, while the gym can actually hold 300 people. So, whereas Equinox and other high price point gyms can handle greater customer engagement that may be looming on the horizon, mass fitness brands now sit between an immediate bust and a dangerous boom. Starve now or die by overuse later on.